there, my name is Phil Blank, and for the past year I've been working on achieving my private pilot license as a student pilot. In this past year, I've learned the importance of following your pre-flight checklist to ensure everything's okay before your flight. Before every flight, the pilot in command should complete a series of checklists known as your pre-flight checklist. This checklist inspects the interior, the exterior of the plane, and the cockpit of the plane before the flight. Numerous difficult situations could have been avoided if pilots had accurately executed their pre-flight checklist. Using the pre-flight checklist provided by Pilot Zulu, I will be conducting the exterior portion of the pre-flight checklist today. It is also important to utilize the information of your flight instructor. As my flight instructor, Chris Frost, always says, when you come to an airplane, the first thing you should do is always examine the quantity of the fuel you have. Many emergency landings have had to be conducted by pilots simply because they ran out of fuel. This is a very important step and very important part to check before flying. Now, to begin the pre-flight checklist, it is important to walk around the exterior of the plane first, which I'm not going to do today, to make sure that there are no damages such as nicks, cracks, or inconsistencies in any of the equipment before the flight. Now, when completing the walk around the plane, be sure to remove any chocks, tie downs that are restricting the plane from flying. When you end up on this side of the plane, you will begin your pre-flight checklist. I first look at what's called the flap of the airplane. Here, there is what's called the push rod. You will check to make sure that it has proper operating range so that you can utilize the flaps during flight. Be sure to check that the flap is secured in place. There are 3 bolts holding this flap in place. One on each end and one in the middle. I will make sure that the nuts are properly attached and it is prepared for flight. Next, I come to the aileron. The aileron controls the roll factor of the plane, or the churning ability of the plane. I will ensure that it has proper operating range and that the push rod, which is located in the center of the aileron, has proper degrees of freedom. Next, you will come to the end of the wing and look underneath the wing, ensuring that all nuts on the aileron are in place and ready for flight. As I walk around the plane a second time, I'm still looking for any damages that may have been received in prior flights. As I come to the fuel tank once again, I check the quantity of the fuel a second time. Inside this fuel tank, there's a metal tab. If the fuel is just below this metal tab, you have approximately 17 gallons of gas. If it is full, it is 24 gallons of gas. According to the POH, or Pilot Operating Handbook, this plane can have 48 gallons of usable fuel, meaning that in this wing and that wing, we have 24 gallons of gas. After checking the quantity of the fuel, be sure to check the quality of the fuel using a fuel tester. As you can notice down here, you have a valve which allows you to extract some of the fuel. You will look for the color, make sure there are no dirt and no water in the fuel. The color of this fuel is blue. Next, you will examine the vents of the airplane, making sure they are clear of obstruction. You will then find yourself at the nose of the plane. Here is where the engine is located. You will examine the quantity or the level of the oil and the quality of the oil. According to the POH, this airplane can hold 8 quarts of oil. However, ideally, you should have 6 quarts of oil. In this airplane, we currently have 6 quarts of oil. At the nose of the airplane, you will find the propellers. You will examine both propellers for any damage. When doing so, be sure not to rotate in fear of kickstarting the engine. Next, check that the belt is firmly intact to the back. That is what allows these propellers to rotate when the engine is started. Finding yourself at the left-hand side of the airplane, you will notice another valve. There's approximately 4 gallons of gas within the system of the airplane. be sure to check the quality of this gas. Coming to the left-hand side of the airplane, on this wing, you will do the same procedures you did on the right wing. You will check the fuel, the quality of the fuel, your flaps, your aileron, as well as the vents. The only difference on this wing is you will also check what's called your stall warning. This warning will allow you to know when you are stalling in the air and need to make correction during flight. Additionally, you will check what's called the pitot tube. The pitot tube gauges your airspeed as well as your pressure within the cockpit. Be sure it's clear of obstructions, that way you have no complications during flight. Finally, at the tail of the plane, you will examine the elevator. Be sure the elevator is firmly intact to the tail and has full operating range. The elevator controls whether you go up or down in the air. Finally, you will check your rudder. Be sure the rudder is intact by this bolt found located here and has full operating range as well. As we come to the conclusion of this pre-flight checklist, be sure to check your antennas that they are not damaged and they are ready for flight. Thank you for joining me today. Join me next week for the emergency checklist.